time, for the tzibur over here, and it's a big schos. It's a busy time, and thank you. And now they're like as Rabbi Friedman, in that we already feel like we hear a lot of Torah from the Rav, so through Rabbi Friedman. So it's a big schos to be able to hear.
Want me to start?
Yeah.
The topic I'm going to be talking tonight about is misconceptions in Choshen Mishpat. That, when it comes to Archaim, Yerdei, and Ebenezer, people don't say Fuerst on their own. They have to know what it says in Shulchan Aruch. When it comes to Choshen Mishpat, everyone says, I have a Das Torah, and they learn Shulchan Aruch, they learn Baba Kamba, Mitziyim, Babasa, and they can answer the question. They don't realize that the common misconceptions that people assume this is the halacha, and sometimes halacha is just the opposite. All right. Firstly, we're going to talk about Ovid Inish deal. So I'm going to mention 11 psakim from Rav Elyashiv. 11 psakim. 11 cases, 11 psakim. First, we'll talk about Ovid Inish deal Nafshe. What's the din? If, let's say, if someone bought an item in a store, let's say paid $200 for a certain item, and he's for sure he paid for it. And when he left the store, he forgot that item there. He bought a number of items, but one item he forgot there. He comes home, he unpacks his stuff, and he realizes they left one thing at the store, and he paid for it. He knows for sure it's his. He forgot to take it along. He went back to the store. The store is a Jewish store, and the owner says, I don't believe you. You're a liar. I don't believe you. So he comes down and asks the shailos, I know for sure I paid. Can I take it out of the store without anyone looking? It's my item. I paid for it. Can I take it out without telling you? Do you say in such a case, Ovid Inish Dinul Nafshe? Rav Elyashiv Paskin, let me just give you where he's coming from. It says in Choshen Mishpat in $7 Siv base. A person it could be Adam is allowed to do a Dinul Atzmai. If he sees something that belongs to him in someone else's hands. And as long as he can avara, he's taking it according to the din. But without that, B'loikain Asa. If you look in the Sma there in Sif Cotton Bays, he says, if he cannot be avara for sure it's his, then it's Asa to take it from, it's Asa to take it. Only when 100% sure. Therefore, says Rav Elyashiv, according to this, you're not allowed to take the chayfetz without rishus. Even though it's for sure mine, I paid for it. Still, common sense tells you, why not? I'm taking out my item. However, Rav Elyashiv Paskin, not like that. It's also to take the chayfetz without the rishus. Why? Because you don't say Ovid Inish Nafshe, where you can't be mitzvah b'din. It's your word against his. He says you're lying, and you say I'm saying the truth. Since Bachanus doesn't trust him, he's the musik in it. So Rav Elyashiv, it's also for you to take it. Common sense tells you not like that, it's also. However, if he already took it already, and he comes to ask a shailos, this is all talking, can I go and take it without rishus? So now we tell him it's also. But let's say he already took it from the store, and now he comes to ask a shailos, did I do the right thing? So you look in the same smile over there, that you don't have to return it back to. Why? Because it was teifus already. Once he's teifus already, he doesn't have to return it. Next case. There was a mice that happened in Eretz Yisrael. It could be it's in America also, but it's more shchich in Eretz Yisrael. Someone bought a bus pass. So let's say a bus pass has you have to punch it 12 times till you finish all the whole pass. He only used 6 of them. And by mistake, he left it in his shirt pocket, and he washed his shirt. His wife washed his shirt and forgot to take out a pocket. So it got completely ruined. Now he comes in and asks the shailos, listen, I know I had 6 left. Can I go on the bus without slip onto the bus? Because I know I have 6 left. So can I go 6 times onto the bus, without anyone to slip on through the back, whatever it is, without paying? Because I know I already paid for this already. Is it asa or muta? So again, common sense tells you Common sense tells you that there's some noise there. Common sense tells you that, listen, I paid for 12 I only use half the whole ticket. I wanted it 6 times. I want to be able to go on. Common sense, I paid for it. Why not? The shailos came to Rav Elyashiv and he paskin, that's Pashut and Bara, that's also to go for free. You're not to slip on the bus. Why? Because you ever look at these cards in small print, it says if you lose the card or you don't have the card, then or the card becomes a scalpel, you can't use it anymore, then you cannot, then you can't go for free. That's part of tonight. When you buy this card, it's in it. And you can't time that the person who lost the card, who got it washed in a shirt and doesn't have a card anymore, I never knew this tonight. Because it says in Choshen Mishpat, Siman Samachal, Sifya Gimel, the Mechaber says, Misha Torn al Ksuvas Ishtoi, Shuam Orts. Someone says his wife, they wrote a Ksuva, and Ksuva says a certain amount of money. And the husband Tainas, when he comes to get divorced, he comes to Tainas, listen, I'm an Amoritz. I don't know what it says in Ksuva. No one ever told me. So we don't listen to him. Ein Shaimalai. That's a Lashon Mechaber. And Ramaz Maisif, Duadim Mishad Dudukim, Shesh B'dak Mishtar. Any star, there's certain things written there, and he comes later and says, I didn't know about this tonight in the star. I didn't know about this. No one told me that. We don't listen to him. And he has to pay. You have to follow the star. And you don't say this, Lo Yamina, the Hagav Lo Digde, Kokach. Speaks out the Shach there further. The Shah said, even he doesn't understand it. He only knows English. The Shah is written in Hebrew. He doesn't know Hebrew. Alpha Pikain, he's Meschayv himself. He agreed to it. He's Mekabel Kinyan in front of Adam. He's Mechoyev to pay. That's why it's important. Rav is Messiah Kedushin to explain. Whenever I'm Messiah Kedushin, I always explain to the Chassan what he's Mechayev himself. That's a chiv. But if he doesn't know, like most Rabbanim don't explain to them, so still Alpha Pikain, he can't tie. I never agreed to such a thing. And the same thing speaks out in the Sivis, then in Sifka Chav Gimel. So says Rav Elyashiv, the same thing here also. Even though I can't tie now, I didn't read the small print on the back of the card that says this. Because when you buy a bus pass, you include all the Tanaim that they make with it. Even it doesn't know the Tanaim, you never read it, still Alpha became, it's also for him to go on the bus for free. Third case. A Maisa happened, someone sold to his friend something he told his friend, listen, this item is worth $20,000. I'll give you an example. $20,000 this item is worth, but I'm selling it to you now. If you pay me right now, I'm going to charge you $16,000. Later on, the one who bought the item for $16,000 finds out that the Moich is a liar. It's not worth $20,000. It's worth a little more than $16,000, worth $17,000. And now the Lokeach says, listen, I wouldn't spend $17,000. If you told me it's 20 and you give me 16, so you give me your $4,000. So for me, it's Kedai. But just for $1,000 alone, I'm not going to agree to it. And I want my money back. Can it be chayzer or not? Because he could tie in a mekach toys. I only assumed it's $20,000. This shailos was asked to Rav Elyashiv, and he paskin, you can't change your mind. Sale's a sale. He should have been invited beforehand. He should have checked out that the price is really $20,000, and not be semech on the seller. In Emerson, what Rav Elyashiv says, Emerson, it's in Vora, and it's Shuvah Chavis Yor. Chavis Yor is in Shas Shuvah's Chavis Yor in Siman Samchtes, and it's also brought down in the Piskei Tshuva and Choshen Mishpat Simrei Zayim Sif Cotton Test, that the derech of people who sell things is to lie. Derech HaTakarim L'Shara, store owners lie, and he's Meisif. This is all talking if he paid already. Does he paid the $16,000? But let's say he didn't pay yet, he still come back out because he could say Al Devorcha Hayisi Semach. I was Semach on you, but now I found it's not true. So as long as he didn't pay him, he can back up. If he paid, too bad, too late already. Emes this he said Chavasya, and Emes said some Fuerst Taz. The Taz in Choshen Mishpat in Siman Shilam Beis, Siv Zayin. I'm quoting what the Taz says. Ma'asim b'chol yom she'adam moicha chaver chayfetz. There are ma'asim people self-chayfetzim to his friend. And the moicha says, and he goes and tells the moicha says, you know, this item, someone wanted to give me $2,000 for this item. Or let's say in this case, this guy wanted to give me $21,000. I'm going to give it to you for 20, or whatever he said. And I decide not to sell it to him. I'm selling it to you. And after this bar, they didn't even have person offer it. He lied about the whole thing. No one even offered him a price for it. It's ladam, nothing ever happened. So the Taz ends off, because it is Yivata Mekach, we know that the storekeeper or Tagar is always lying. You're not saying you don't trust him. This Taz is brought down also in the same Piskei Tshuva that we mentioned. And the same thing speaks out the Aruch HaShulchan there in Sifkan Vav. And he adds on the Aruch HaShulchan, Derech HaOlam the David Cain. The Derech HaOlam is to lie. You go into a store, he wants to sell you something, he wants to make a sale, so he does everything to convince you. He'll even lie. But let's say, however, there's one case that's an exception. If let's say the Koyach says, the reason when he pays $16,000 for the item, he says, the only reason I'm paying $16,000 because he told me it's worth 20. So I'm trusting you. So he speaks that out, and the lady finds out that he didn't say the truth, then he can tie the Mekach toisted. Then he can vatal the Mekach. Because if he says clearly, I'm Semech on you, but if he only doesn't say he's Semech on you, and he paid $20,000 for a $16,000 item, too bad. Mechira is done already. And he can't tie it as Isay no, because $1,000 more from an item 16,000, 17, it's not a Shir no, it's not a Shtutz. So Mela, since he paid a little more than 16, paid 17, Vada it's Pachas Mishtus, and Mela, the Mekach is not bottle. Next case. And Choshen Mishpat and Simulation on base talks about mitzvah kaim divrei meis. A mitzvah happened like this: a person wrote out a check for tzedakah. I'm just make up amount $10,000. He's giving for tzedakah for a certain organization. Or Stamazai, he tells someone else, I'm giving you a check now of $10,000. Whatever the reason is, sold him something, whatever it is. And before he had a chance to deposit the check, the one who wrote the check died. Before he was able to deposit in the bank. Now the bank, once a person dies, shuts down the account. So it goes to probate. We all know what happens. The bank won't honor the check. Now what does he do now? He has a check of $10,000. The person gave it to him, and now he gave it to tzedakah, and he wants it tzedakah to get it, but the tzedakah, the bank's is not going to honor it. So his only choice is go to the Yarshim. So the question is since the bank's not giving anything, does he have a right to go to the Yarshim and demand, your father wrote this check b'chayav, you have to give me $10,000? I was talking when you trust the person. So the shailos came to Rav Elyashiv, and he paskin the Yarshim are mechuyev to pay the amount that's written on the check. It's $10,000. The Yarshim are mechuyev to pay $10,000. The reason is, since it says a Choshen Mishpat simulation and base, there's a mitzvah l'kaim de ameis. When is there a feel of barish shitziva ameis? Even if someone's healthy and he told someone to do something, he died. The din is mechuyev to listen. Now this is important tonight. Shenais nai achshav l'shalosh l'shem kach. The only time you mechuyev to listen, mitzvah kind of ameis, if he gave the money to shalosh. Zak Rav Elyashiv v'chidish gadol. When I give a check, it's like money in the bank. It's money in the bank. That's sholish. That's a third party holding it. So Mela, it's like hushish biyad acher. So there's a chiyuv, a mitzvah kaim divrei meis. In the Sefer Check Halacha, the Chelik Aleph, believe it or not, there's 2 volumes on check halacha. How a check is an halacha. It's 2 volumes that's on Choshen Mishpat, just on the sugya of check halacha. So in the Sefer check halacha chelik aleph, Perek Aleph Sif Yud, he quotes there in Ice 27 on the bottom. He quotes the exact same thing that I mentioned to you. He quotes the same thing with Elyashiv, that it's mitzvah. In this case, it's mitzvah kayim meis because it's like hushlish. But there he brings on a second reason for Elyashiv. He says even further, when I give someone a check, it's I paid the guy already. It's kvashilim, he says. It's like kesef ayla seichad. It's like money in the bank already. When I write a check of $10,000, it's not stam shtabi alma. It's kesef. In the ayla seichad, in business world, that's considered cash. And the same thing he quotes there, exact same thing from our going Rabbi Yisrael Yankev Fisher, who was the head of the Dei Charedis, that this is considered like you paid mamish. And the same thing he quotes from Shlomo Zalman, that a check is still like a chayfetz animka anikta. That's things ayla seicha. So maybe it's still like cash. And emes also it's before in Igros Moshe. In Moshe in Choshen Mishpat Chelik Beis in Simon Tezvav, it's a long tshuva about Puzbol. So there he writes in the Ramaskal Hine, he says the check is considered tashlumim. He's talking about Puzbol, if it's for this year, that year. So he says when you give a check, it's considered tashlumim. Because since he says different svara completely. Because since according to American law, when you give someone a check, you're not allowed to mevatel it. You're not allowed to mevatel it. So sit a mom and mamish, and Mela, since he came mevatel it, and Mela, it's mom and mamish. The Sefer check halacha says even further that even he doesn't have money in the bank. Let's say he wrote a check out 10,000, he only has 8,000 in the bank. So check he can't even cash. So he says that if the bank gives ashroy, let's say credit, you have a good account. A lot of times the bank will let you overdraft. If you have a good customer, if you only 8,000, they'll honor the check for 10,000, and they'll give you they'll send you it might give you a penalty, or they'll let you give you a chance in another couple of days to put in another 2,000 to cover the check. There are many banks that do that in America. I'm sure in Eretz Yisrael also. So in such a case, since they're going to cover it anyway, then the check, even though it's only 8,000 in the account, it's still like kesef mamish, even though it's a chiddush gadol. Still, it's like kesef mamish. It's still like kesef. What about the check is post-dated? Let's say, for instance, a person wrote 2 checks. Check for today. Today's July 25th. July 25th, he wrote a check for $10,000. He wrote another check for August 15th. And later, the person was lifted before August 15th. Now it's a post-dated check. So the check for $10,000, what's written now, that we said now, all the price can say, you have to pay for it. What about a post-dated check? A post-dated check, and at the time put the check in the bank, a person won't be alive, is not alive anymore. Now, is the family in the Yoshim to pay or not? So in they say for check, Allah brings a shy like that, and it brings on the consensus that the price scheme is, you still have to pay it. Chiddush gadol. Even though the chayra, he can't honor the check until August 15th, when he's not alive anymore. He says, because when I write a check, the chiyuv is la'alta. Just the mammon is not the chiyuv mammon when it comes to time. But right now, the chiyuv la'alta, and you mechuyev, and you chuyev the children, I'm mechuyev to honor the check. It's like kesef mamish. In the Sefer, Aleinu Shabech from Yitzchak Zilberstein, in the first 5 volumes, he has shailos tshuvos at the end of the Sefer. So in Sefer Bereshis, he has a shailos tshuvos there. The Geya, one of the things in Geya is in Siman Yud Gimel, and he has a shailah there, gabi a check. What's a check halacha? So Ruven paid with a check. Very often used to be. Today everyone uses credit cards. But it used to be a time people used to pay check. In fact, sometimes when you use a check, Moshe, you went into Borough Park or to Williamsburg, you ask him, who should I write the check out? He said, leave it empty. Leave it, we'll take care of it. And sometimes you even put a name. But in the back of the check, it goes from Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Sometimes on the back of the check, you have 6, 7 signatures on the back of the check. And as the one who didn't write out to her, he's not the one that's cashing it. So the question is, what was the shailah? Reuven paid a check, paid with a check that he got from someone else. He got someone else. He doesn't remember who. He got a check from somebody else. And he paid with that check, he paid Shimon. Shimon lost the check. So Shimon wants to go back to Ruvain and says, listen, I lost the check. You didn't give me any money. And it's only shtar, it's only a check. And it's a din of Shmin shtar, it's most of Mechinam. I lost it, but it wasn't pshita, I lost it. So he wants money back. He wants money back from Ruvain. He wants it paid. It's a $100 check. Yeah, I didn't get $100 from you. I lost the check. So he tainas, it's not moment. But according to what we said now, so Yitzchak Zilberstein writes in the Sefer that he has many price given at Yisrael, and they all said it's check is a din moment mamish, and it's still like Reuben paid Shimon already, and that Shimon lost it, he came and chayiv Reuben to pay again. He paid already. He already paid with check, and there's no ischayvus whatsoever. Reuben has no ischayvus to Shimon. Next case. Someone stays in a hotel. We're talking about a Jewish hotel. Let's say in Eretz Yisrael, or let's say like you have the Bar Park, the Park Hotel, and Avenue Hotel, something like that on 30th Avenue. You go to a Jewish hotel, and 90% of the people who use the hotel are Yidden. And you find in the room you're renting now for tonight, you find a item there without any simon on it. There's no simon on it. The question, can I keep it? Or I should find out who the last person used the hotel room. Last person used the, also probably stayed a few days, and a day or two, whatever. That's how usually most of the cases are. So what is he supposed to do with it? He found it. Can he keep it? Or no, he has to go to the hotel owner and give it to them and to find out who the last masker was, the last one who went, because it could be it's his thing. Or maybe the person who's rented now, he found the item, the renter now, maybe he has to go find out who's the one. He himself has to find out who used the last time the hotel, who used that hotel room. What do you do now? Because he probably wasn't miyash yet. In Choshen Mishpat and Simon's Rei Samach Siv Gimel, the Mechaber says like this: Im Yadua Shehem Mitzia. If you know it's a mitzvah, he's not talking about a hotel. There he's talking about rent an apartment. When I rent an apartment, normally don't rent an apartment for 2 days, a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. But it's not short term. When you rent a apartment, usually it's not for short term. So it says Rav Elyashiv, it says that the Mechaber there is talking only when I use it for a while. So Mela, when we take on the person who's the last one that used it, when he leaves the hotel room, he's there, let's say, for 4 weeks. So he not the hotel room, he's renting an apartment, let's say for 4 weeks. So after 4 weeks, before he goes, he checks very well to see if he left anything there. And if he did find it, then the shailos is, does he what do you do? Does he try to find who is it or not? But for a hotel room, it's different. Hotel room, since the person uses only for a day or two, so normally when a person uses a hotel room only for a few days, a day or two, then when he cleans it, goes out, normally he leaves from the suitcase. He opens the suitcase, he takes out the few things he needs, and he throws it back into the suitcase and leaves the next day, and that's it. So he's not putting things around that he's afraid it might left. He just takes out a few things and puts those things back in. Now, when he forgets it, then Rav Elyashiv says that in such a case, you don't know, then it goes to the one who finds it. Because we take on that he left it, he forgot it, and he's miyash, and he could keep it. That's what Elyashiv says. This is all talking that you give it to when you have Yidden living there. Let's say in a hotel, let's say you go to a Marriott in Chicago or New York, or whatever city you're in, Florida, whatever it is. If let's say they go in a hotel room and they find something there, since right of the people who use hotel rooms are goyim. So maybe in such a case, like the Shach speaks out, it's a Fuerst Shach. Shach says there in Simrei Sama Sifkon Yiralf that if the room is a hotel, the room belongs to a guy, then he's allowed to keep it because he take on and the stomach belonged to a guy. Sixth shailos. The sixth shailos. Many people get hazmonas. You get invitations, wedding invitations, bar mitzvah invitations, bas mitzvah invitations. You get invitations in the mail. And normally, when they send an invitation, they send a return card with a stamped return card. Why do you have it stamped? Because it makes it easy. Because maybe a person receives it, doesn't have a stamp, he won't mail back. The person wants to know, he wants to get as soon as possible to know who's coming, who's not coming. Can I keep the stamp? Am I allowed to keep the stamp? I don't answer. Normally, a Baal Bos takes on that if you don't answer, you're not coming. Still me take on like that, I imagine. So the question is, what do I do with the stamp? Am I allowed to keep it or not? He brings down for Rav Elyashiv. Rav Elyashiv says, it's pashut, you're not you're allowed to keep the stamp. You're not mechuyev to send back the letter. To say, no, I'm not coming, or whatever it is. And also, you're not mechuyev to what? You're not a shema. You're not a tzira shema on the stamp. Why? Because I wasn't mekabel shmira. What does the mechaber say? In Reish Tzad the Gal of Siv Beis. Shem Yechinam. What's a Kshem Yechinam? Hu shehifkid etzlai v'kibel al v'shemrai. He was mafkid by him, and it was mekabel shmira. And said mechaber says weiter. Afila like kibel Fuerst. El Shem Anach Lefonai Harei Shem Yechinam. Tells the person, put it down in front of me, you become a shechinam. That's only he's a mekabel shmira, or he says put it down in front of me. But if you didn't say anything, Moshe sent, then he's not even Shem Yechinam. The guy gives me something and I didn't say anything, and now Shem Yechinam. Agav, when a person gives me something to go, if I go to Yisrael, I'll go to Lakewood, someone gives me something, I speak out, I'm a kab on myself, I don't want to be even a Shem Yechinam. I can make such a tonight. So anyway, especially to give a large amount of money. I'm not going to be Pesheya, but I'm not the kab, I'm not even going to be Shem Yechinam. So you're not a Shem Yechinam if you want Mekabel Shmira. So Mela, when I send someone an invitation and there's a stamp there, the person who gets it's not Mekabel Shmira on the stamp. So my not mechayev to be shema. And even more, befrat today, everyone knows why you put a stamp there, that it should be mezuman to they should be able to use it right away. Not to go look for a stamp or go buy a stamp. But if he doesn't answer, they're mafkid. We take on the stam das a person when he sends an envelope with a stamp. If it's not going to be a return card, he's hefka. So we assume it's hefka. So Mela, in such a case, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to give back to the person, and you can keep it and use it. Seventh case. Someone gave a beged to clean. He brought a expensive beged. Let's say a suit, expensive suit. Paid $300 for a suit, or a coat, a winter coat. I don't know if they have winter coats in Miami, but anyway, a winter coat for $300, or a kapata. Spend a very expensive kapata, or a dress. A woman had a dress, a very expensive $300 dress, and they lost it. And they lost it. The cleaning store lost it. No, what do you do now? How much you have to pay? So, originally I was supposed to speak. The original share I was planning to say was on that. But I figured this is more interesting. But the guy of that, usually some they use the item, especially a few months, use the item. How much is a suit worth? Let's say 6 months, or kapata 6 months, or dress 6 months, or coat 6 months. If you pay $300, lucky if you get $50 for it. Lucky. It's probably less than $50 because who's going to buy a used item? Well, this cleaner wants to keep goodwill, so he decided the one who lost the coat or dress or suit, whatever it is, he's paying them $150 to satisfy them. So he paid the person who lost, since the cleaners lost it, the balabais, so the cleaners said, gave $150 to one who lost the item. Very good. Now, what happened? The cleaners found it. They found the suit. They found the kapota. They found the dress, the coat. They found it. So they want to give it back. The ones who already got the money, they said, what do you mean? We already spent money. We even lost on the deal. We had to buy, not only did we got $150, we want to buy another suit, dress, whatever it is, we had to pay $300. You could keep it. And the cleaner said, what am I going to do with a kapota? I never put a kapota in my life. And what I'm going to do is a different size suit. So I'm going to get too much money for it. I'll get maybe $10 or $20 in the Salvation Army. What am I going to do with it? So I want back my $150. What does common sense tells you? You paid $150, too bad. Rav Elyashiv paskin that they're mechuyev to give back the money. They have to give back the $150. And where's his makar? A makar is a shach. And then you give him back the $150, and he gives back the kappa, he gives back, and that's it, finished. There was rayas from a shach. In Choshen Mishpat, Siman Reish Tzadik Hey, Sif Katan Yiralf. He brings down a Shitas Rambam that says a shema sheshilem. I mean, this cleaner is like a shema, until once you give it like a shema, and until he gives it back to you. Shema sheshilem zeche b'shvacha behema shebo mela. M'kolmokim behema chazer bailam. If you find the behema, it goes back to the bailam. The shema ain't tzarich lahasib b'nei. He's not to chuif that. Nishtamish b'kesef. He spent money. Too bad. He could give it back. Says the shach, it's okay. Even though he has now 2 kapotas, he only needs 1. Too bad. That's what the halach is. You give back the money. He gives back the kapota. I bought another kapota. Too bad. And certainly, if the Baal Chnus doesn't want it, he has nothing to do with it. He has to return. They have to return to money Baal Chnus. Common sense tells me. What do you mean? I paid $150 and even spent extra $150 to get another baguette because you lost it. Still, after it became the halach is they could give it back, and that's it. And you have to give, and they'll give you back your baguette. And I have 2 dresses or 2 suits and so on. Nothing again. 8th case. A Maisa happened. Someone rented a hall for Simcha, a chasna hall. He put down a down payment, like normal. You want to reserve it? Let's say the chasna costs $20,000, let's say. So you give him $1,000 of down payment. And then afterwards, he changed his mind. He's not, the shidduch broke off, or he wants a better hall, or whatever it is. He changed his mind. And mamish, that day, let's say like in Lakewood, people wait online to get a hall. So he canceled right away. He got someone else to take it. Does he have right to me? Give me back my $1,000. 15 minutes after I canceled, you got someone else already. The same day you got somebody else. I gave you Pekadim, but now did you have someone else to take it? You have no loss because of me. So therefore you should give it back to me. And common sense tells you that. Listen, you can't put down 1,000. Why put down? Because in case no one uses the hall, so maybe you have at least this keep it. But Mashay came here right away. I got someone else to fulfill, to use the hall. Maybe Pasha Chosh back $1,000. The shailos was asked to Rav Elyashiv, and he paskin that the mascha is not mechuyev to pay back. You don't have to give it back. Why do you pay kadam? Why you want to hold the place? And plus, it says a ticha for the owner of the hall to find somebody else. So he paid $1,000 to put a hold on the hall. So even he found someone else right away to rent the hall. Still, the bekatim was given amnas. He should not be chayzer. So Mela and Adas came. He gave the down payment, so he loses down payment. If the hall wants to give it back, he wants to be nice about it. There's no problem. But if he comes and asks a shailos, we should tell him the din is you're not mechuyev to give it back. Ninth case. Someone drives around Mashalachim. And this driver is a very good driver. What means a good driver? He knows who to go to or not to go to. He says, this guy, you'll get a check for $1,000. They'll only get $18. So he saves the person. He knows who to go to, so he can make more money. He saves and wasting his time going to people he gets small checks from. So the question was, he went to Gavir's house. And what happens now with this? What does this driver has a deal? He take a percentage, a shlish. Some take a shlish, some take 25%. He made a deal with the driver made a deal with the mashul he's taking around. He says a third. A third for all the money you make, I get a third. You make up a price, third, 20%. I'm using a third here. Okay. So he made it with him a third. It might happen like this. He came into Gavir, this is Mishulach. He made a very good impression, and he wanted to give him a real large check. But he knew that the driver takes a third, takes a shlish. So he told the person, you know what? I'm giving you a small check. Show him the check, let's say, for $100. Give him a third, that's it. Come back tomorrow, a day after, 2 days later, come back to me privately, and I'll give you a real large check. And he should know about it. Is he mechuyev to give a shlish on the second check? First check, he might have give a shlish. But on a real large amount, can you do such a thing? Are you allowed to do such a thing? Is it mutter or not? In Choshen Mishpat, in Shin Lamed Aleph, Sif Aleph, the Mechaber says, "Haseiches apayel." Someone hires a worker. You charge, you work the hours. Let's say in America, when you go hire yourself, it's from 9 to 5. So you can't come later and say later, listen, when I hired you, I want you to have from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, 12 hours. Didn't speak it out. So you go bust a minig hamokon. That's the halacha. You go bust a minig hamokon. Unless you speak out, I'm paying you this amount of salary, but I want you to work 12 hours. But if you didn't speak it out, you go bust a minig hamokon. That's what the Mechaber says. And you can't mechayev to work more than 8 hours a day. And they have to go whatever with the minig hamokon is. You know, the Choshen Mishpat might be different, but you find kam halachas with Choshen Mishpat, you go bust a minig hamokon. So question here, therefore, according to this, Rav Elyashiv said, that's asa to the Mishulach. When he gets to check the second time, he's mechuyev to give to the driver a shlish of that also. Let's say he gave him a big check of $10,000. The second time he gave him $10,000, he's mechuyev to give a third of the $10,000 check. Why? Because it's magia to the one who drove you. You only found out that this person's a gvir only because of the driver. The driver was megala him. So since the driver was megala him, so when you take away from his third, from the second check, you're stealing from him. So therefore, he's besides taking a third from the first check, he also takes the third from the second check also. And if he's not, he's considered a gazlan. Number 10. This shailos comes up very often at Israel, and even sometimes in America. Someone owns a dira. Let's say in Israel, everyone has condos. You know, four floors, and everyone owns their own apartment. So a lot of times the family goes, and they don't want to move out. They can't afford nothing. What they do is they build on. They have a mafreset, and on the mafreset, they want to make a room out of it. Put walls around it, a ceiling around it. They want to make it into an apartment. A lot of times there's a lot of noise, banging away, the trucks there doing a lot of work and so on. Am I allowed to imice it to the government and say he's illegal? He does it without, because you need reshus of the city and plus the neighbors. The neighbors don't want it. They're up in arms, banging at night, banging at 7 o'clock in the morning. They don't want it. They don't want it. Are they allowed to go to the city to stop such a thing? Can he go complain to stop him from building? Is there Issa Masira or not? Why? Can he stop him or not? Is there Issa Masira or not? So Pashtus, the Chai should say there's Issa Masira for stopping him. However, Rav Elyashiv says that if you don't go to the Mishtara, you don't go to police, you don't go to the city, you go to the one, and I forgot to mention, he's building an apartment, a legal apartment. He doesn't have a shus, and it's illegal. If they would ask for shus from the city, they would not give him permission. So, Rav Elyashiv said, there's no Issa Masira to go to the city, because since he's doing something illegal. If he's doing something illegal, let's say even in Miami, they're building onto a house, back of the house. A lot of noise, and whatever it is, you're allowed to go to the city. as long as there's no Issa Masira. However, if you can go in Knossos, if the city is going to give out Knossim for building on to building on, Knossim or anything, something like more than just stopping him, then it's a Masira, then you're not allowed to go to the city. This is what Yosef Paskin. That was the 10th Shaila. The 11th Shaila is if someone was mazik someone else's car. He mazik his car. He made a big dent in his car and assume it's not so pashut, you mechuyev to pay or not. Because the car still has 4 wheels, it still drives. Are you mechuyev to pay? How much you mechuyev to pay? That's a sheer by itself. But let's assume that the type of damage that you mechuyev to pay. Then everyone knows you have to pay it, okay? And to that, let's say, if you bring it to a mechanic right now or to a person that does fixing cars, he'll tell you it costs $2,000 to fix up what you did or what the bang, the damage you did. He says, you know, I have a mechanic that has a shop that does fixing up cars, and he's a close friend of mine. He'll do it for free, but he's out of town this week, and I wanna next week I'll do it. I'll get it done. The question is, but I need the car now. The car I need to drive now, and I can't give it. I need you to fix it today. I need the car, and I want to fix today. Can a person push him off for a week? It's going to be fixed. But right now, it'll cost me $2,000. If I wait another week from now, my friend comes in, he'll be able to do it for free. Or chatzi chinam, he'll pay me only $500. It'll be a lot cheaper. Can he push him off until his friend comes? So the shailos asked to Rav Elyashiv, and he pasked that if the one who was damaged, the nizik, says he wants the car fixed right away, he needs it right away, the mazik cannot wait. They can't wait a week. He says, wait till my friend comes, the mechanic comes and takes care of it. But why? This is what Rav Elyashiv said. It's mutal on him to fix it chorega v'rega. If you do damage somebody, the chiyuv is lauta. You don't have to 30 days or whatever it is. Mechuyev to fix it out lauta. Even though the cherd's gromim is zaken, right now you can't use the car, whatever it is. So afal pikein, you still have to pay out keilotzis idei shemayim. So therefore, la halacha, the din is that he can force him if he wants. If he doesn't need it right away, he wants to be a nice guy, wait a week, okay. But let's say if he needs the car and he can't use the car the way it is, he has a right to tell him, I don't want to wait a week. He can't tell him, I'll go rent a car, I'll pay your rental, and so on. He wants his car. Otherwise, it's kav shalai. So Mela, he's allowed to force him to fix it right away, even though he has to pay, $2,000 to fix it. Okay, these are all 11 shailos. Anyone has any ashes on this? Any R's?
Yeah, in the case of the Mishal driver.
Yeah.
What did they're considered shutman? Where he's working for him? What's how
Not shutman. It belongs to the one who's collecting the money. If he's collecting from Meiser, it belongs to the Meiser. He's a shliach of the Meiser. If he's collecting for himself, then it belongs to him. Let's say he has a sick child. He needs medical bill to pay medical bills. The money belongs to him. Just he has a deal. He's a pile. The one who's the driver is a pile. He's a working person for Meshuach. He's a regular pile. But a pile is allowed to make certain conditions. He made a condition the third. A lot of people think a third is a lot of money, especially if he has people give nice checks, such a thing. He has to pay he has to pay a lot. That's too bad. That's part. He made a deal. You have to follow the deal. We tried in Chicago. We tried to stop a lot of drivers charge a third, and we tried to stop them, and we're not successful. I don't know how it is in Florida.
What about the fact that the Gvir is making it tonight? He's giving the money out tonight. That the money does. The Gvir is giving the money out tonight, though.
He's an accomplice to Gezela. That's all he is. It's Gezel. He cannot make. He made it tonight. It's tonight. Shloi kalacha. He's a gazlan because the money, a third of that money also goes to this. So he's a gazlan. Tonight by Gezela doesn't help. Tonight help a lot. Tonight help. Davshav Mammon. The Gemara says Babasra, it helps. However, but here in this case it's connected halacha. It's a Tanai Shalek halacha. That's not considered tonight.
Rabbi, does the Meshulach have to tell the Gevir that he's going to give the third again?
Down the road, he has to give him a third. Does he have to
No,
tell him? You mean?
Yeah, is he mechuyev to tell the Gevir that he's going to give the third again anyways?
I don't know if he's mechuyev to tell him, but he's mechuyev to give the money. Tell him, that would say maybe it might be lashon hara that you have to ask a shayla. It might be lashon hara. It might be and the shulach might be the driver might be upset. He's not gonna bring any more to the gevir to the mishulach.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, no. What I mean is when the Gevir tells the Meshulach, I'm only going to give you the money. I'll deny that you're not going to give it to the guy.
So I has to tell him, listen, I can't do that. The halacha is not like that. I'm mechuyev to give him a shlish. That's it.
Rebbe, when you said over that psak, you gave the svara from Rav Elyashiv that since he introduced him, and but for that introduction, he would not have known the Gevir. But there are times when they do know the driver, he's telling the driver where to drop him off. So how would that change in the psak if Lamaisi says, I knew him independently?
Doesn't make a difference. You have a deal with the driver. The driver is anything you make, no matter if you know or don't know, I get always a shlish. It depends what deal you made. You didn't make a deal, and stam das is what the deal you made. So it doesn't make a difference unless you make a deal with him and tell him, listen, the ones I know, you get $20 an hour. The ones I don't know, you get a shlish. If you make such a deal, then you keep that there. But if you didn't make that deal, then everything I make going around tonight, anything I make, you get a shlish. Even if he went to Gevir, he wants to give him $10,000, he's mechuyev to give him a shlish of that. Unless you made a special deal. Listen, I want you to take me to this person. I just need you to drive me there. But I'll pay you per hour. If he agrees to it, then it's okay. Hakol of tonight. Any other questions?
In case 10 with a shaila of Masira, if he it's Masira if they give the fine, or what's the nafkamina between if they give a fine or they don't give a fine?
More money is mechayev, then there's a question of Masira. That's Allah in Shin Peches. You take a look in Shin Peches near the end of Simon Shin Peches and Choshen Mishpat, you see all the halachas is there.
So in practical halacha, when you call a city, the city usually gives some sort of ticket. So it would really then be Masira by calling. I'm saying usually when the city gives a violation, it comes along with some sort of financial kanas.
If then it would be a violation, then they're not allowed to go to the city. Sometimes they'll just put a stay. You can't do further. You have to stop right here. It depends on the situation. Sometimes depends how the city does it. In Chicago, they don't give a ticket. They tell you to stop. Usually. Any other questions?
Yeah, someone sent me a shayla that somebody owns a store that sells only brand new items. That's all they sell. They don't sell anything used. Now somebody comes in and is mazik some of their merchandise, but it's not completely ruined. It still has a lot of value. The store is not able to sell it anymore.
There's a whole shayla in Paiskim. If you pay the value, what the owner paid for, or what the sale price is for. The whole shayla.
How would you evaluate? How would you evaluate that hezek now? Is it you charging them what it's worth now, or you're charging them the full thing because the store?
That's what I just said. The shayla in Paiskim is a big machlokes. The Psak I don't remember, but there's a whole shayla in Paiskim. If you call me in Chicago after my vacation, there's sometimes I know where to look. You just have to remind me about it, okay? After August 15th, you could call me. Yeah.
In the case of the check, let's say Ruvain paid Shimon with his own personal check. He paid Shimon wages for a job, and Shimon loses the check. And Ruvain knows it's his check, and it's now going to go through his bank account. Is he mechuyev to replace it? Shimon wants to replace it.
Yes. He's mechuyev to replace it.
Why?
He never deposited the money.
But if it's mammon, if the check is cash, so I paid you.
But if he knows he never got the money, Ruvain never got the money, that means he didn't pay him yet. In such a case, he has to write him another check. If he knows for sure that the check wasn't cash, he has to give another check. He
So-
might
so what-
be, he could probably charge him, sometimes you have to call the bank and stop the check, because someone else might, he get all the service fees that he has for stopping a check, that is mechuyev to pay, but he's mechuyev to pay back the money. Let's say it was a check for $1,000, and he lost a check for $1,000. The guy, the owner, the one who wrote the check should call up the bank, cancel it, so no one should deposit, and whatever costs him, he can pass it on. If let's say it costs $50 to cancel, he only has to give him $950. But he's mechuyev to give him $950, even though it's cash mamish. But you have to know that he never got the money.
Yeah, but so then why, but why is it different if it's someone else's check?
There you don't know, because there's 6, 7 people that use the checks. You don't know if it's from Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar. You don't know who it's from. Here, clearly it's a private check, but they certainly have to pay for it.
Mhm. Okay.
Any other checks? Any other shailos? No questions? Okay, so I'm free to go. Okay, everyone, Shabbat,
Oh.
Gezut the summer.
Thank you.
Go to